Hey everyone, this is Six Path Weeb. Today, we're diving into a powerful what-if scenario. What if Naruko and Obito led the revolution? We'll explore how their ideals, experiences, and inner struggles could reshape the entire shinobi world, and what kind of future their leadership might bring. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's get into it. The first time Obito opened his eyes, he immediately sensed that something was unusual. The very fact that he could wake up was, in itself, strange. He wasn't supposed to feel anything, not the soft breeze brushing his skin or the sunlight spilling gently across his face. He remembered his final moments vividly. There had been a bright, blinding light, a feeling of calm release, and then, nothing. It was meant to be the end of his long journey. And yet, here he was, awake, breathing, alive. With trembling hands, Obito touched his face, confusion deepening as he felt smooth, youthful skin where there should have been signs of age and hardship. He rushed to the mirror nearby and froze. His reflection showed a younger version of himself, dressed in familiar blue pajamas decorated with the Uchiha clan's fan symbol. He was shorter, his face rounder and softer than he remembered. There were no scars, no traces of the battles he had endured. The young face staring back at him was unmistakably his, Obito Uchiha, once a man burdened by mistakes, now returned to the form of his 12-year-old self. He took a steadying breath. How had this happened? Was it some kind of illusion, a dream so lifelike that even his trained senses couldn't detect the difference? If so, why would he dream of being a child again? His gaze shifted toward a small wooden frame on the nearby shelf. Inside was a picture that warmed his heart, Rin smiling brightly between Kakashi and himself, while their teacher, Minato-sensei, stood behind them, looking proud and patient. For a moment, peace settled over him. But then a question echoed in his mind. If this was truly a dream, why was he reliving the past instead of living in a peaceful world where everyone was happy and safe? Was this perhaps a chance to make better choices, to rewrite what once went wrong? Obito's thoughts wandered to Naruko, the lively, golden-haired girl who had carried the hopes of the entire shinobi world. She had fought not out of anger, but from kindness and determination to protect those she loved. Even when faced with impossible challenges, Naruko never gave up. Obito felt no disappointment toward her, only admiration. She had taught him that hope could shine even in the darkest times, that forgiveness and friendship could heal even the deepest scars. Perhaps this new beginning was not punishment but a second chance, to learn, to change, and to guide others. He looked once more into the mirror. The face that looked back was no longer one of regret, but one of quiet resolve. Maybe this was where his story would truly begin, not as a warrior seeking redemption through sacrifice, but as a person determined to live better, guided by the lessons of Naruko Uzumaki, the girl who refused to give up on anyone. With a gentle smile, Obito whispered to himself. All right then. Let's make things right this time. The second time Naruko woke up, she found herself in the hospital. Once again, her eyes opened to a bright white ceiling that felt both familiar and strange. Once again, her hands reached for her face, only to find it smooth and unmarked. Once again, she realized she was still in her 12-year-old body, tired, sore, but very much alive. This time, however, she was not alone. 3 other chakra signatures were nearby, 3 she recognized and had once longed to see again. Yet, in that moment, she wasn't sure she could face them. Obito! A cheerful voice exclaimed. A girl hurried toward the bed, her energy filling the quiet room. You're awake. We were so worried. There was an accident with the fire, and you were caught right in the middle of it. What happened? Are you okay? Rin, came an older, calm voice. Let's give her a moment. Obito, still adjusting to the bright light, turned her gaze away, choosing to focus on the wall instead of their faces. She heard another voice, cool and a little teasing. She probably tried some new technique again, the voice said. Wouldn't be the first time. Kakashi. The older man sighed gently. Please, not now. This is serious. The flames had traces of chakra, but we don't know whose. It might have been Naruko's, or someone else's. We need to stay alert in case something went wrong. Rin reached out to comfort Naruko, but she instinctively drew back, her emotions too tangled to handle the kindness just yet. The room fell into a still silence. Naruko, Rin said softly after a moment. I need to check your injuries. You still have some healing to do. You were holding a picture frame when we found you, it broke, remember? Naruko's eyes widened. Where is it? she asked quickly. Rin hesitated, then pulled a slightly singed photograph from her bag. I kept it safe, she said. Naruko took it carefully, relief washing over her as she saw that it was mostly intact. The edges were a little worn, but the faces in the picture smiled back at her, bright and full of life. She held it close, cherishing the memory it represented. The older man, smiling kindly, said, that picture was the only thing that made it through the fire. Everything else will have to be replaced, but that one survived. Naruko didn't respond. She knew that the people before her cared, but something about all of this felt strange, like a dream she couldn't quite wake from. Still, she chose to hold on to the comfort of that one small picture, a reminder of the people she loved and the hope she refused to lose. Since your home was damaged, the man continued gently, you'll be staying with me for now. Naruko blinked in surprise. Wait. What? The man smiled warmly. You'll be living with me until everything is fixed. Don't worry, you'll be safe. Naruko shook her head. I don't want to trouble anyone, she murmured. I'll be fine on my own. Nonsense, the man replied with a reassuring grin. You're part of the team. We take care of one another. For a long moment, Naruko said nothing. Her gaze dropped to the photograph in her hands. The faces in it, Rin, Kakashi, and her sensei, reminded her of how precious connection was. Even if this world felt uncertain, even if her heart still carried questions, she could not turn away from the kindness being offered. All right, she said quietly, her tone soft but sincere. Thank you. The man's smile brightened. That's the spirit. Rest now, Naruko. Everything will be all right. As the room grew calm again, Naruko looked once more at the photograph and whispered to herself, maybe. This time, I can make things right. When she finally drifted to sleep, her dreams were peaceful, not of loss or pain, but of light and second chances. Truth be told, Obito could never quite understand where his strong resentment toward his own clan truly came from. Yes, he had once felt disappointed in them, believing their ideals were too rigid and outdated. For a long time, he had thought they were unable to adapt to the changing world. But he had also played a part in shaping their fate, and that realization had been enough to calm much of the anger he once carried. At least, that was what he believed. Still, something felt deeply unsettling about seeing the Uchiha clan thriving once more, alive, functioning, and residing peacefully in Konoha. In his mind, only a handful of Uchiha had survived, Madara, Itachi, Sasuke, and himself. Yet now, the clan was there before him, whole and strong, and he could not understand why. Perhaps his conflicted feelings stemmed from his self-doubt. He had grown up believing that many within the clan were trapped by their own pride and emotions. The Uchiha had long been known for their strength, but also for their struggles with controlling the intensity of their feelings. It was a cycle that few managed to escape, a cycle of misunderstanding and pain passed down through generations. Everything, it seemed, always led back to the clan. Every success, every mistake, every triumph, and every regret somehow connected to that single name, Uchiha. And maybe, in some corner of his heart, Obito still believed that the clan's burden was something shared by all of its members. The choices he made, the challenges he faced, he carried them as both personal and collective responsibility. Yet now, as he stood face to face with the clan's leader in what appeared to be a dream, he could not help but question the reality before him. If this were truly a dream, or an illusion, then why did it feel so real? Why did the Uchiha still exist here? His first thought had been that this was the infinite dream world, the illusionary space known as the Mugen Tsukiyomi. But it wasn't. The presence of the clan itself proved that this was something different, something far beyond illusion. That realization left only one extraordinary possibility: time travel. Somehow, some way, he had been sent almost 20 years into the past, back into the body of his 12-year-old self. The idea sounded impossible, but everything he saw and felt confirmed it. Why me? He thought quietly, frustration flickering in his chest. Why not Naruko? Naruko Uzumaki, the bright, hopeful girl who had inspired so many, turning despair into determination. She was a light in dark times, capable of bringing out the best in others. If anyone deserved a chance to return to the past and see her parents again, it was her. She had always been the kind of person who could heal hearts and bring peace where others saw only conflict. Obito, on the other hand, did not see himself as that person. He was not the one destined to rewrite history or to guide the future toward hope. He was tired, weighed down by mistakes and memories. Once, he might have been that kind of person, the young boy who believed in his dreams and fought for his friends, but that version of him had long faded away. Still, fate had chosen him. It always had a strange way of guiding him down unexpected paths. And now, here he was, given a second chance in a time long gone. He didn't know what he was meant to do. Should he try to make things better? Should he change anything at all? He wasn't sure. A soft cough drew him out of his thoughts. Slowly, he looked toward the two figures standing nearby. His gaze wavered between them, Uchiha Fugaku, the stern clan leader, and Namikaze Minato, his former teacher and mentor. Obito didn't know what to say. The weight of their presence pressed on him like the past itself coming back to life. Once, he had fought alongside them. Once, he had respected them deeply. And now, by some twist of destiny, he was standing before them again. He didn't understand how or why. All he knew was that he had been rescued by Uzumaki Naruko, had given everything to help her, and now found himself back in a time that should have been long gone. Obito took a deep breath. Though he didn't yet know his purpose in this strange new reality, one thing was certain: he had been given another chance. Perhaps this time, he could use it to bring peace, not pain. And for the first time in a long while, that thought made him hopeful. Hatake Kakashi was not someone known for his patience. Prowess, certainly. Innate genius, undoubtedly. Strength and potential, without question. Patience, however, was a virtue that still eluded him. That was precisely why he had dreaded the moment he discovered he would be on a team with Uchiha Obito, the outspoken, often late, overly confident, and endlessly exasperating classmate who always seemed to test his composure. No matter what the task was, Obito had a remarkable ability to try Kakashi's patience. Maintaining a calm and collected demeanor was often a challenge in the young prodigy's daily life, and most of the time, he blamed it squarely on Obito. Today was another such day. Obito had a well-known habit of arriving late to missions, even when Minato-sensei specifically instructed the team to be punctual. To counter this, Minato had told Obito to arrive an hour earlier, anticipating his usual delay. Unfortunately, this time, even that strategy seemed to fail. The silver-haired Chunin looked up toward the sun, already high in the sky, while his female teammate and their instructor exchanged uncertain glances. It was nearly noon, and there was still no sign of Obito. Kakashi's patience wore thin. "Minato-sensei," he finally said, his tone carefully controlled. "Obito is almost 2 hours late. Shouldn't we proceed without her?" Minato looked up from the scroll he had been reading and shook his head gently, a small sigh escaping his lips. "No, Kakashi. This is a team mission. If Obito isn't here yet, we'll go check on her. She might have run into trouble." Kakashi frowned but nodded. "Understood, sensei." As they approached Obito's neighborhood, Kakashi's sharp senses picked up a faint smell in the air, something that didn't quite belong. It wasn't the scent of cooking or wood smoke. It was something sharper, like heated stone and metal. His instincts tensed immediately. "Sensei," he said cautiously, "do you smell that?" Before he could elaborate, Minato's expression shifted. Without another word, he dashed ahead, a blur of golden light. Kakashi and Rin hurried after him, hearts racing as they saw smoke rising above the rooftops. Their fears were confirmed when they arrived. The source of the smoke was Obito's apartment building. The flames weren't natural. Kakashi could feel a trace of chakra lingering in the air. "Sensei, it's chakra-based," Kakashi reported, eyes narrowing. Minato didn't respond. He vanished again in a flash of light, reappearing moments later with Obito in his arms, bruised but alive, clutching a small picture frame tightly against her chest. Relief flooded through Kakashi and Rin as they joined hands with their teacher, teleporting together straight to the village hospital. The medical staff immediately took over, working carefully to tend to Obito's injuries. The team was asked to wait outside while the doctors treated her. The hours felt long and heavy. When Minato finally returned, his calm presence brought a sense of reassurance. "She's being taken care of," he said gently. "They're doing everything possible." Kakashi glanced at him and noticed a faint mark on Minato's arm, evidence of the rescue. "Sensei, you're hurt," he said, concern replacing his earlier irritation. Minato smiled faintly, brushing it off. "Just a small burn, Kakashi. Nothing serious." Kakashi wasn't entirely convinced. "You shouldn't have rushed in alone," he said quietly. "It could have been dangerous." Minato placed a reassuring hand on his student's shoulder. "Sometimes, we must take careful risks to protect our teammates. I made sure to plan my move first. You did well to think things through, Kakashi, but remember, being a shinobi is not only about precision. It's also about heart." Before Kakashi could respond, a cheerful nurse approached them with a clipboard. "Namikaze-san, are you here for Uchiha Obito's update?" Minato nodded politely. Yes. How is she doing? The nurse smiled warmly. She's stable and resting comfortably. There may be a few light scars, but nothing that will affect her health or training. She's expected to make a full recovery within a month. Rin let out a relieved sigh, clasping her hands together. Kakashi allowed himself a quiet breath of relief as well, though he tried not to show it. Minato smiled at his students, pride shining in his eyes. You see? Everything turned out fine. Teamwork and patience always lead to good outcomes in the end. I must ask, however. Aside from the mild burns, there were no other signs of injury, the nurse said softly, her earlier smile fading into one of quiet concern. Could you please explain what happened? Kakashi and Rin exchanged uneasy glances as Minato's expression grew thoughtful. The change was subtle, so subtle that anyone unfamiliar with him might have missed it entirely. I'm not entirely sure, he admitted gently. My team and I arrived at Naruko's apartment when we realized she was late, later than usual. When we got there, the building was on fire. I sensed her faint chakra inside, so I went in immediately. I found her in the middle of her room, sitting on the floor and holding a picture frame. That detail made Kakashi uneasy. It didn't sound like an accident or the result of training gone wrong. But perhaps he was overthinking things. Maybe the fire had been caused by someone else. Still, his thoughts wandered to unpleasant memories he quickly pushed away. He didn't need to dwell on them now. I see, the nurse said kindly. Thank you for explaining. You and your team should go home and rest. We'll contact you once Miss Naruko shows signs of waking. She bowed politely before walking away. Minato turned to his students with a tired smile. You both heard her. It's getting late, you should head home. Only if you promise to get your own injuries checked, Rin replied firmly. Otherwise, I'll tell Lady Kushina. Kakashi nodded, agreeing silently. Minato sighed, shaking his head with a faint smile. Yes, I'll get them looked at, after you two go home. Rin looked ready to argue, but Kakashi placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. He knew their teacher would keep his word, if only to ease everyone's minds. With a quiet goodbye, Rin followed Kakashi out of the hospital. They walked in silence, each lost in thought. Kakashi, in particular, hurried home, hoping to escape the troubling thoughts that lingered. Over the next few days, the team visited Naruko daily at different times. Rin often brought flowers and updated Minato and Kakashi afterward. Kakashi stopped by between training and lunch, while Minato visited more often than anyone else, clearly burdened by concern. Even Kushina noticed how tired he had become. Team 7 felt incomplete without Naruko's bright energy. The silence during missions seemed heavier, the usual banter gone. Without her cheerful voice filling the air, it became painfully clear how much she had held their group together. Even Kakashi, though he wouldn't say it aloud, realized just how important she was to their team. On the 5th day, word came that Naruko had finally woken up. After finishing a minor mission, the team immediately went to visit her. Kakashi felt uneasy. He didn't know what to expect, and worry gnawed at him. What if something deeper had caused the fire? Naruko had always faced challenges, but she was also one of the most determined people he knew. She never gave up, ever. When they entered the room, Kakashi stayed near the door while Rin and Minato took the seats beside Naruko's bed. A quiet groan made all three look up as Naruko slowly opened her eyes, shielding them from the light. Naruko, Rin exclaimed with relief and joy. What happened? You were caught in the fire, did something go wrong with your training? Before she could continue, Minato raised a hand gently to calm her. Naruko, do you remember what happened? He asked softly. Naruko turned her head away, silent. Kakashi frowned slightly. You'd think she'd at least be glad we came, he muttered under his breath, earning quick glances from Rin and Minato. The traces of chakra in the fire were unusual, Minato added thoughtfully. We couldn't identify the source. It might not have been an accident. His tone was calm but serious. Naruko, however, wasn't responding. Her attention seemed distant, focused elsewhere. When Rin reached toward her to check her bandages, Naruko suddenly flinched and drew back sharply. Rin froze, startled. Naruko, it's okay, she said gently. I just need to make sure your burns are healing properly. Where is it? Naruko asked suddenly, her voice trembling with urgency. The picture. Where is it? Rin reached into her bag and pulled out the frame. I kept it safe, she said softly, handing it over. Naruko carefully took it, studying it for a moment before hugging it close to her chest. Her expression softened, as if the photo were something deeply precious. Kakashi exchanged a glance with Minato, He had never seen her look so fragile. Minato spoke gently. That picture was the only thing that survived the fire. Everything else was lost. The building was damaged beyond repair, but the Hokage and I decided you'll be staying with me and Kushina for a while, until we arrange something new. Naruko blinked in confusion. What? She whispered. You'll be living with us for now, Minato repeated kindly. But Naruko suddenly shook her head. No, that's not right. I shouldn't be here, she murmured, voice trembling. Naruko? Rin asked softly, concern etched in her face. What do you mean? Naruko didn't answer immediately. When she finally looked up, her eyes shone with tears and frustration. I don't understand any of this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It all feels wrong. The room fell silent. Minato exchanged a worried look with Rin and Kakashi. Finally, he said gently, Naruko, everything is going to be all right. You're safe now. We'll figure this out together. Naruko's expression wavered, but she nodded weakly, holding the photo closer. The tension in the room slowly began to fade, replaced by quiet relief. Kakashi let out a slow breath. He still didn't understand what had happened, but one thing was clear, Naruko needed them now more than ever. Minato looked toward the doorway, his expression firm yet kind. We'll get to the bottom of this, he said quietly. Kakashi nodded. Yes, sensei. Because no matter what had caused the fire, no matter how strange things had become, Team 7 would face it together. That's a wrap, fam. Thanks for tuning in to Six Path Weeb. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more epic content. Peace out, and remember, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one. Regards. Six Path Weeb.